Steve, how are you doing? Hope you're well. Like, subscribe, etc. Whatever you feel like doing. Today I'm going to be looking at the classic Trance gate effect in Ableton and other things you can do with the gate as well, with a little bit of an ambient sample and all. So just get stuck into it. Right, so the classic way that a gate is used is to take out noise, because that's what it is. It's a noise gate. So it's an audio effect in Ableton. So what I'm going to do is go to our samples. I'm going to look for something with drums. Alright, we will take that. I'm going to drag it in down there so it goes into a simpler, and then we can warp it as much as we want. I'll just warp that. We'll keep the settings as it is. Set ourselves up a drum loop. We'll make that into 2 bars. There we go. So you can see it's got quite a bit of reverb on it. Brilliant. So what we're going to do, audio effects, we're going to go into dynamics, drag the gate onto the end of it. And you can see where that gate is. It's actually set at quite a nice level. It's just controlling that stuff there. It's another classic thing with a gate, it controls massive reverb. I'm going to add some noise to that so you can show how you can actually add in noise and make a little bit of a mess of it. We're going to go to driving colour and vinyl distortion. And we'll put in some crackle. So I'll turn off the gate so you can hear that. Got good density on it. So let's hear the drum. There we go. Turn on the gate. We're going to up the release a little bit so it's a bit more natural. Echo does have a noise module on it, so if I just turn that off, we'll go into character, click on noise, and we're going to just have that noise there, so that in on the gate. So you can see how you can kind of use that to sample like vinyl drums and stuff like that. Just tighten them up a little bit, take away some of the shit. Now, the other thing we can do is we can add a massive reverb to it, and for that, what I'm going to do is insert an audio track, and I'm going to take the audio from that drum track. I'm going to grab a hybrid reverb. Let's go into Hall, let's go for a Cathedral Huge. Solo that track. There we go. That's absolutely ginormous. I'm going to put the decay down a bit. And then what we can do, drag a gate in. If we combine the two of them, we can bring the volume of that track down. Turn it off so you can hear what's going on. So you can use it as the gated reverb technique. You can control like a massive reverb with it. So what I'm going to do now is add a synthesizer channel just to show you something. We'll go again from the instruments. Let's get a pad from, let's go from operator, find a pad. There we go, Atmos pad, that sounds good. We're going to stick a gate on this, go into audio effects, drag the gate into that, and we're going to use a sidechain. So I'll just play just a C major chord, something nice and simple, and click on the triangle button of the gate, click on the sidechain, and we're going to take that from the drums, number 1. So if I solo this, what I need to do is push play on that first. So that drum signal, if I take it off solo, and we can delay that by delaying the attack. Play around with the release as well to get a little bit of sort of audio. Turn this off completely. And you've got something you can use without the drums, so you can put that completely into a different track. Say if I added a drum here, we'll add the 808 kick. Drop something in the comments if you actually want to see how this is made. It's quite a simple thing with the wavetable to make an 808 kick. I will just stick in, because it's pitched, I'll pop it down here onto A0. Put a 4 to the floor in there. So that's now going just to the drums. And you can figure you could actually make a track around that, build a track, drag in something like the 909 kit. If I go the 909 core kit, we'll push play on that, you could have like the closed hat. And then your open hat on. Then your snare drum on the 2 and 4. Or even clap. You get the picture. You can kind of build something around that you like. So next thing I'm going to show you is how to do it with a choral sample. Classic Trance Gate, Trance choral. So I'm just going to go into the Ableton stuff again. We'll go into instruments, go for choir, and what have we got? Let's pick wavetable voices. I'll do the job, drag that in there, and I'm going to grab, well, let's do it on G. We'll do it as a 4-bar loop, do 2 bars pretty much of G. Duplicate that, then probably D sharp. Right, sound, that'll do the job. So what we need to do with that is we're going to add the gate to it, get rid of that, go into audio effects again, dynamics, drag the gate into it. Now that's not going to do anything with it at the minute. So what we need to do for this technique is to create a trigger track. So I'm going to create a new MIDI track, and in that I'm going to stick an operator. I'm going to keep it as it is, basic sine wave, but take the release completely down. So all this is doing is triggering. Now the best way to do this is 30-second notes. So I'm just going to right click 1/32, and it doesn't matter what note we use. And we'll do a sort of classic like that. Command D just to duplicate that along. So if we play that, brilliant. Now that doesn't need to be on, so we're still getting the audio feed from it. So if I go back into this track, triangle again, sidechain it, take it from the operator track. Now we're only at 120, so let's go to 134. We can make it really tight. And if we want to, we can actually just Command A to select all. We can make it really, really tight. And then all we do with that is control that then within the gate itself, take the release up a bit. And you can see that in context. I will drag in. Cool thing to do as well when you're doing the gates is you can add massive effects before the gates. You get, if I go into audio effects again, I'll grab a hybrid reverb and a hall, we'll select the Galactic Coral Hall. And you've got this huge effect into it. So we can add the hold up a bit, put the release up a little bit so it's not quite so clicky. And then we can add like a delay afterwards. So just a tiny little bit of playing around. I put in a kick, put in a little pluck bass and the choir. And you can kind of already feel maybe with a little bit more BPM. You can already kind of get a feel for how that fits into some sort of side trance track and all that sort of basic thing. You can add some pretty cool stuff on it as well, because in the choir, if I put that down a bit, we can add a seventh onto it using shifter. Drag that in. I'll do that before the reverb, and all we're going to do is pop that up 7 semitones, pop the dry wet down. We'll just do it to taste. Probably around about there, and you can really sort of stack these effects up. So we'll go for a classic chorus after both of them. Adds a little bit of depth and width. We can also do a little bit more with a shifter, which is great fun. Drag another one in there, and we're just going to use the width on it. I'll drag the dry wet down. See if I turn that off. Kind of pushes everything out really nice and wide. So if we take the gate off this, you'll hear what's actually happening. And then we have a classic trance effect. Right, so what I've done is I've taken those ideas and I've put them into something that I made earlier. So if we look at this track here, I've got an open pad, I've got some nice big chords, I've got a variation on that one and a variation on that one. If I go out and we look at the tracks, we've got a gate on here, we've got 3 different wavetables making different sounds. We've got a gate on there controlled by a trigger track here, same as we did before with the operator. And on this one, we've got a gate, we've got a slight variation on the pad. And again, for the third one, we've got a slight variation, but the triggers, if I go into here, are all set at different points. So they're spread around a little bit, there's a little bit of stuff going on. So this is what it actually sounds like. And I've got different chords, so I've just duplicated, changed the chord structures. And in here I've got the drums, I've got a drum kit, exactly the same thing where I've added noise to it. Got a load of noise going on, load of stuff going on, gated, shed loads of things that I've just processed and got a little bit carried away myself. It's a great effect to use, you can get majorly creative with it. So these have got different opening filters, they've got different placements around the head, they've got auto filters going on and all sorts of stuff. Now the other thing I've done on here as well, I've got an analog synth here. Now if you've seen me randomizer videos looking at the Eno style randomization, that is just the chance is really low on all these notes, so it's just going to randomly play something that's in this range of notes each time. I got a trigger track, which is playing in a 2-bar loop, and effectively my gate is going from the trigger track. I've got a delay on it, so it's playing a kind of random selection of things each time that it goes on. So that trigger track's got a release I can take off completely. Now I can modify the gate a little bit if I want to have a little play around with it. Have it hold for longer when it gets triggered. Let it release a little bit longer so you're getting the next note in the sequence. And this ends up being a completely randomized track that you can use in any sort of thing. So you can kind of like, you see the techniques that have been used in trance and all that sort of thing, and sort of chilled out side of it as well, but you can make your own complete things. So I'm going to do something here as a complete and utter experiment. It might be totally crap, but we'll see what happens. So I've recorded some gibberish, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop on the vintage effect, which you'll have seen from one of the other videos. If you haven't seen it, check it out because it's a great thing. Vintage maker. This is going to totally crush the vocal that I've done. I am walking lost inside myself. I'm also going to bang a redux on the back of it because, oops, there's a really cool when you get this down to gone for 4-bit, because otherwise it gets a little bit messy. I'll set the dry away. Stick the release down to 0, and we'll just chuck some notes in there. We'll drag one of those over there, drag another one to here, take that out a bit, put that there. Right, I'm going to stick a gate on the end of the audio channel, triangle again, sidechain it to channel number 1, the operator. This is completely random, blubbery, gibberish crap, but you can get a really cool sound out of a sort of dodgy Geordie voice, because Geordie doesn't really go well in music. I'm looking at you, Jimmy Neal. Do a little bit more on the saturation just to completely screw with it before it goes into there. I'm going to go on the wave shaper, open that up. Let's go for the depth of the wave shaper. That might be quite loud, so I'll put the output down. Now what's really cool about that is that you've completely destroyed the original audio. So I'm going to pop the gain up a little bit. I'm going to take that a little bit there, isolated it, right click, crop the sample, and what we can do is create a new audio track. We're going to resample that into there so we've got all the effects on it. So let's enable it. Cool, so we've got that audio sample. I'm going to drag a simpler into a new track, drag that audio sample down onto there. We'll turn off these 2 tracks. Start this from C3, where it actually does start from. Get turn it up a little bit. Now we can start playing around with the warp on this. So I'll put that in there. I've warped it on Complex Pro. Play around with the formants a little bit. Actually, I don't really know what I'm doing now. So what I've done with this is pitched it down from the original C3 to that G. I've got it on Complex Pro, played around with the formants. So I've just dragged a couple of basic things, the bathtub percussion, put the dry wet down, put a delay on with the 2. Yeah, so I'm a bit bored of myself now. Actually, you could probably use that in a techno track more than you could ambient. Totally recommend getting more in Ableton Gate. It's a fantastic piece of kit. I'm using it an awful lot in productions at the minute. It's really good as well for just tightening things up when you want to get rid of little bits of noise and stuff. But creative wise, the possibilities are totally endless. And I'm going to completely go off on one with this weird vocal sample thing that I've done. Thank you very much for watching. Like, subscribe again. I'll catch you on the next one, which won't be as long as this one took because, you know, this was a bit rubbish. See you later.